We begin today chapter 17, and the conclusion of this chapter, in the conclusion, today we don't conclude it, but in its conclusion will be the second part of Tanya. First part of Tanya was chapters 1 through 8, getting to know the two dimensions that we have, the godly soul and animal soul. Chapters 9 through 17 about the struggle, the battle, and primarily the idea of the mind having dominion over the heart, that we could meditate, think about. We have the capacity of doing the actual opposite of what our heart's desire is. Now we continue with this idea, with this thought, right? We continue with this thought. Marcy, shortly, okay? And bring this full circle. With this, says the Alter Rebbe, we can understand the one verse in Deuteronomy that these 53 chapters is based on. It was brought down in the title page. Ki korev elecha, for this thing is close, ma'od, very close, beficha, in your mouth, bilvavcha, in your heart, la'asoisa, to do. What is this thing that's close? Means our relationship with God. Torah and mitzvahs is close in our mouth and our heart that we may do. Now, let's take apart the words for a moment. Beficha, in your mouth, obviously refers to speech. So in our speech, it's close to us to do that which God needs of us, right? In our heart has a double meaning. The simple meaning, actually not the simple translation, but the simple meaning means what you think. Because you think about the things that are on your heart, right? The more pressing it is on your heart, the more you think about it. But it refers to thought, right? And also feelings. We'll get there in a moment. La'asoisa, to do. So what do we have here? The three garments of expression of the soul. Thought, speech, and action. Bilvavcha, speech. Bilvavcha, thought. La'asoisa, to do. Right? And again, it also means your heart. So this is very easy to, to connect to God, to have a relationship with God. Do what God needs from us in our heart, in our speech, and in action. Ask the Alter Rebbe, it says it's very close. Really? Seemingly it's not. How's it close in our heart? That we should have a love and awe of God? Because remember, heart has a double meaning over here. So the deeper meaning, and the literal words are in your heart. Meaning, with the love and awe of God, it's close to us. Well, it would seem to be the contrary. That's not a simple, easy thing to get to. And the Torah is eternal. So not speaking, to Moses and to that generation, the generation of those who were in the desert and who saw God's clear providence, saw clearly the hand of God. So it must be very near to you and me, right? But how can we change our heart's desire when our heart's desire is very self-directed for our own pleasure, for our own fulfillment, for our own needs? Right? And don't we even learn in the Torah that God's, says to Moses, all I'm asking for you is that you should fear And the Talmud asks the question, is that such a simple thing, the fear of heaven, meaning the sense of awe, the presence of God? All the more so the love of God. Not so simple, not so easy. Moreover, sages say that only the righteous actually have control over their hearts and have really a love of God and a sense of awe. But the Beinoni, and you and I who are Beinoni in training, seemingly it's not so near. So we have to be very observant of the words and very precise in the wording. The words is, it doesn't say in your mouth and in your heart and in action that you should do. It says in your heart, in your heart to do. In your heart to do. That's a funny phrase. In your heart, in other words, serve God with your heart and in action. It shouldn't be just in your heart, but it doesn't say in your heart and in action. There's not enough of feeling, but you have to bring it to action. That makes sense, but it says in your heart to do. Oh, so we're talking about here a heart that is merely to bring us to do what God needs from me. That's what the verse is speaking about, right? That's very near. That we have control over. We have control over the mind, that it can bring the heart to do what God needs from us, right? Another, we can meditate on something. Excuse me. We can meditate upon our relationship with God. God, relationship to the creation, and on God himself, his greatness. And we will generate in our minds, at least in our minds, as we spoke about in chapter 16, a understanding heart, or intellectual love, that we ought to cleave to Hashem through the study of Torah and doing mitzvahs. And that it will bring us to do that. And this is what our sages say on the verse, that I command you to do these mitzvahs and to do them this day. This day meaning now, this day. What does it mean, this day? Meaning in a time before the Messianic period, in the world of action, just do it. Or, so I say, just do it. Do the mitzvah. Tomorrow you will get your reward. Today is just about doing the mitzvah. What's the reward that you'll get tomorrow? Will be that you will have you'll be able to delight in God. That's the reward. Today we don't delight in God, except for the righteous. Right? What we do is do the mitzvah. Where's our heart? The verse says, with your heart. Only with your heart in order to bring you to action. What does that mean? Well, let's take from Fiddler on the Roof. Tevye says to Golda, his wife, do you love me? Right? And she says, do I love you? For 25 years I washed your clothes and I fed you. What's the difference between the two? He's looking as love to delight in it, as an end in itself. And she says, I love you. I express it in action, what I do for you. So the same thing is over here. What is very near to you and I is that we can meditate upon our relationship with God, God's greatness, and that will bring me to an understanding heart, that will bring me, even though I don't have a palpable feeling in my heart of love and awe of God, but that will be sufficient, that thought, that meditation is sufficient, that it's going to bring me to do for God. In your heart to do, not your heart and do, but in your heart to do. what's in your heart to do. In other words, it's not about your heart feeling the delight in it. It's enough, this is close to everybody, that we can have enough sense in our heart that brings us to do the mitzvah, to give charity, to make Shabbos for the Jew, for the man to put on tefillin, right? Go to the mikveh, go visit the sick, take care of, the needs of, guests to bring them to your home. Whatever it is, right? Whatever the mitzvah is. So what we need to have in our heart is enough feeling that is not delighting in God, delighting in the mitzvah, right? That's something that we will get as a reward after. We get it in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden, when our soul goes there after 120. We get it now. We get it now. The righteous get it, and we get it primarily in the times of Mashiach. But now what we can have is a mind that, with its inherent nature, has mastery over the heart, right? The left ventricle of the heart, which is the seat of the animal soul, that will bring to my heart sufficient motivation, sufficient feeling of love, that I will overcome the heart's desire to be self-directed, self-loving, and I will do what God needs from me. I have this in human relations, right? That we know sometimes, okay, I got to do this for my spouse, for my child, my parent, whoever it is. I got to do this for them, even though I'm like, I just want to chill. But I'm going to overcome that, my desire to chill, which is all about me, right? I'm chilling. I'm chilled. Oh boy, that's so contrary to this, right? And because here we're talking about warmth in the heart that brings you to do something for another. So you have to have enough warmth in your heart and enough presence of mind, awareness in your mind that I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this for someone. So, you don't feel the passion? That's okay to do good for another. Where do we get this? Because we do that for God. We don't necessarily feel the passion. We're not delighting in the mitzvah. We're not delighting in God. But I have enough awareness, enough understanding in the mind that it gives me a understanding heart to just do it. Pretty powerful idea that we all can live with, live by. All right. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? Marcy. 1 second. Alan, give me a moment. don't see questions. Ti-ya-dum bum bum. Hi. All right. Alan, you got your... Oh, you're making the call. I see. You're making the
I'll call to you. I'll call to you, Rabbi. I'll call to you. On the old phone, because I have an old soul. So Rabbi Fine, just a few minutes ago, maybe like 3 minutes ago, I heard you say au contraire. You know, it's just like this is the first French I ever heard you say. And I know you lived in Montreal, so I have the question to ask you: are you fluent in French? I mean,
Oh, okay. Don't, you know, you're going to do... I'm not fluent at all in French.
oh, okay,
No.
okay.
I
Just a question. I didn't.
yeah, no, it's okay. No, I'm not fluent at all. I'm
No, it's quite all right.
in,
Old French, I'm sure, from Rashi that you
yes, that from Old French, yes, yeah. But
Anyway, that's just some humor. That's all.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Actually interesting. What over the years, you know, there's a lot of Jews, not currently, but you know, many years ago, that came from Morocco, and they didn't know English and they knew French, but many of them knew Hebrew. So I spoke to them in Hebrew. So my Hebrew got better.
Cool. So are there a bunch of Chabad people from Morocco that are French speakers?
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely, and you know, and primarily the non-Chabad people that yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is a little humor.
Yeah, no, with pleasure, Have
a good Sabbath.
Good Shabbos, thank you. David is asking on Instagram, the reward of a mitzvah is another mitzvah. That's right. Today it's another mitzvah. Right. Um, right, that's a different saying. Here the point of the reward is the doing, the reward is that when we connect to God right now, we don't experience it in its full divine right. We will. That's the reward. You know, think about it for a moment, folks. In life, the most rewarding thing is whatever you're doing, there's a sense of profound connection. There's a sense of profound connection. Now, when we don't have that sense of profound connection, then whatever you're doing in that moment doesn't seem rewarding, doesn't seem, you know. So we don't have that now. Just do it. Just do the mitzvah. We will have that profound sense of connection in times of Mashiach. But it doesn't take away from us doing today. And we are connected today. We're just not experiencing the full throttle of that connection. That's all it means. Davida has a question. In the morning prayers, what is the difference between when you say the precepts that we enjoy in this world and the principal reward remains in the world to come? How does that differ from doing all other mitzvahs? Very good. So today, the principal reward will be the world to come, right? As we just explained, you will have the full throttle of the experience of that connection through what you have done and what you will do. But you can still get fruits of the road. There's the principle, and there's the fruit, right? There's the tree, and then what grows from the tree. There's the principle, right? And like interest, there's the principle in interest. So there's the tree and their fruit that it bears, right? The principle is the tree. So the principle reward, and then there's the fruit of the reward. So the fruit of the reward in some mitzvahs you get today, like honoring your parents, doing acts of loving kindness, tzedakah. That can be, or that you can get wealthy by giving tzedakah, by being charitable, is a way to become wealthy, and so on and so forth. So that's what it means, just in brief, that idea. Okay. Beautiful. All right, folks. Amazing, as always. We had a wonderful TRC yesterday. We will have one Sunday, plus Torah studies on Sunday. This coming Tuesday, we're going to have a special webinar. And I see many of you signed up. If you didn't, private message me so I can get you the info. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Tzich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing day. Rambam is coming up, and a great Shabbos. Thank you for joining.